One other thing that I kind of gather from what you said is that workers, sort of separate or see differently the instrumental component, if you want, of CSR activities and the mission or meaning component of it. Also from your lab experiment that you were mentioning, looks as though, in the lab experiment, it doesn't really matter if the employer picks a charity themselves, at perhaps even some sacrifice to their bottom line. And on the other hand, in your field experiment, it looks as though, they really want to see sort of a more pure use of these activities. And this connects me a little bit to your work on purpose and mission in work. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so gladly. So the two topics are related, but of course not the same. So I started to work on this topic because I was frustrated with all economic courses and theory, which mainly focused on financial incentives, like picturing the relationship between the employer and the employees only based on how much I pay. So if I want to get a person motivated, just pay him more and make it conditional on performance, and basically that's it. To make it simple, it boils down to this. And I thought, well, personally also, I thought, well, that doesn't really reflect me. I'm not saying that money doesn't play a role, but I think it has been totally understudied compared to other factors of humans' motivation, work motivation. And in fact, I think there are four factors, and the first one is exactly the mission. And the mission, how I interpret it, is that people, well, more broadly, these four factors, let me say, incorporate what I call the meaning of work. So people, in my opinion, and in Stefan's opinion, that's why we wrote also these other papers together, it's that people want to derive a meaning in their work. And now, how can you get meaning from what you do? And so one of these elements, one of the most important ones, is exactly the mission of your job, namely what you actually do or what your company does, and that it gives you a sense of purpose. So you feel that your effort is creating something useful for society and has a social impact. Now, of course, there are several ways to achieve that. I would say the most, in my opinion, effective mission is when really the type of task that you're doing is useful, which I could say that, or let's say differently, because all tasks are useful to a certain extent, but you can directly see the impact of what you're doing. So, and you love what you do because you think it's meaningful. For example, curing patients, or writing, being a writer, being a journalist, or cooking, chef, or whatever. You do something you believe in and you enjoy doing it. So I bet that many people, are willing to be able to get a pay cut if they can just work on something that they like, that they enjoy. Now, not every type of task, however, every type of companies have this social mission incorporated. Of course, if you work for, I don't know, like some charitable organization, non-profit organization, there the social mission is obvious, even if you're not necessarily being the doctor, but still you see. In other organizations, it's less obvious. And so that's where the connection with CSR comes, is like, well, companies can try to make their mission a bit more social or by investing in CSR and engaging with society. But it's going to be, again, exactly, we go back to the topic of before, it's tricky how you do it, because if it works, if you really create a kind of meaning in people's work. So if it's too disconnected, too far away from workers, they will not have this perception.
I see. Interesting. And so did you do any specific research? Did you run experiments on this
do have also another experiment, yes, on this. Well, actually, let me say that I have some, rather than experiment, let me tell you about a recent paper that also I have with Stefan and two other co-authors, Robert Dur and Maria Cotofan, where we want to understand how do people preferences for job characteristics are created, because we don't want to say that money is not important, but we want to say money is important and mission is important. Now, and other factor that I can also tell you about later, because I think it's important to mention them. But so now, is there a way to understand why some people care more about money and some other maybe about mission? And interesting. So we started to work on this before the COVID crisis, but we wanted to investigate whether, for example, growing up in a recession, or more than growing up in a recession, facing high unemployment or a recession during your the years between your impressionable years, namely when you are between 18 and 25 years old, affects your job preferences. Mainly, if you go on the market, so summarize, to put it shortly, if you go on the job market and you face high unemployment, so difficulties probably finding a job or whatever, or you see around you that it's difficult, will this affect what you value in your work also later on in life? And we did find some very nice results. I mean, I don't know whether they are nice, depending on how you want to interpret, but we did find some significant results that weren't necessarily obvious, which is that people who are born in, who go in the job market during a recession or with high unemployment rate, they're more likely to care about money relatively to mission later on. And this then also, raised a lot of questions. So what is an interpretation for this? Well, that obviously, if you're in a situation where you don't even know whether you can get a job and support your family, well, the mission is not so important anymore. The money pay is the big factor. And so then maybe the mission comes playing a role when all these basic needs are already met. So it's a more rich country problem, but still, I think, a relevant one. And sorry.
Interesting. So on the one hand, I mean, it's a relevant motivator, but in a pyramid, in a sense, at the basis there are perhaps inevitably material reasons. That make in a sense it's a relevant finding. So what it tells me a little bit is, and it kind of relates to some other work of yours, that these sort of non-monetary incentives, you have to make sure, in a sense, one of the credibility aspects, it seems to me, is that there isn't only one part benefiting in some sense. So, first of all, let's make sure I have what I deserve also from a financial point of view. And then, sort of the extra work, the excellence and so on is strongly motivated also by other reasons, essentially. So it looks as though, in a sense, people don't perceive a trade-off here in strict sense. It's, at least to some extent, it looks that, you want to make sure that there are material conditions and that we care about this for the next step. This is interesting.
This is why I think that the mission and in general CSR and all these dimensions are particularly relevant for skilled workers. So when we are talking about talent, so talent is already gaining enough money, quite some good money, then really whether a company invests in CSR or has a social mission play a role. Whereas for unskilled workers who still have to struggle to make a living, well, for them, frankly, it comes later. And let me also add, coming back to the first study that with Stefan, that there we were recruiting people on MTurk, and these are relatively unskilled workers. So I think it's important it's crucial to realize what type of pool of employee do I have.
It's a great point. It's the sort of sometimes companies, use this kind of, tactics of saying, come work for us, do an internship and, zero salary. And, this is very motivating and so on. There is a whole debate also in the world of charitable organizations, Sure, there is a lot of meaning. The mission is the priority, but that doesn't mean you should underpay your workers.
Oh, yeah. Let's not start here, because I really cannot understand. I'll get emotional. Because I don't understand why if you have to do something for society that is good, it has to be for free, and people have to work for free. So I don't understand that. Why can't you just do something good and at the same time earn something for yourself? Because of course you have to support a family, you have to support yourself. So so let me take this occasion to really promote the topic of social entrepreneurship, because I think which is actually a topic very much connected, because what is a social enterprise? We don't know, and yet there is not a clear definition. But also in the last report from Deloitte in the 2018, they're actually using this word, that companies are becoming more and more social enterprise, that they don't only have to, they're not only assessed based on their financial performance, but also on their impact on their customers, on their employees, and on society in general. So I like this, to see an enterprise like more broadly as a social enterprise, because I don't understand why we need to have this sectorial divide. On the one hand, the firms who only care about profit, and the other hand, the charity who only care about doing good and cannot make any profit. Can't we have an hybrid where you balance these two objectives? And I don't know, everybody could be happier.
As that the balance is tricky, so that requires extra work. So it's not trivial, but definitely it's the goal to look forward to. I agree, totally agree. Great. Well, this was enlightening. I really enjoyed it. And let me thank you again for taking your time from your busy schedule and life. And I'm sure the students will love it too. So thanks so much, Lea.
Thank you, Nicola. Bye, everybody.